Welcome back. Now, when I was 16, virginity was something as a curse, something you didn't want to be and something you didn't want to be associated with, and especially in high school. And when I was in high school, there was a girl named Crystal, and I will never forget her till the day that I die. And she was a virgin, and she was very proud of it, and everybody knew it. And she was looked upon as the virgin, and it was a bad thing. And everyone made fun of her. You know, even I made fun of her and talked about her and made her feel bad. But deep down, I wanted to be her. I envied her, and I just looked at her and admired her because she had such a backbone and was so secure with herself that she said, you know what? I am a treasure, I know it, and I don't care what you think of me. And I wish that I had that courage in high school. I wish I could have stood up against all of the people, all the pressure, just everything. And it was just so amazing to me. And, you know, we really underestimate the power that we have and the power of our testimony. Just like that guy that stood up in that church that night with me when I turned my life around, or when I wanted that conversion. He turned my life around in such an extreme way that now I've become a chastity speaker, and I speak to all these teens on chastity, and I'm out there doing everything that I can to spread this message. And he never knows it. He will never know the impact that he had on me. And one day I would love to meet him and be like, you know, you changed my life, and this is what happened. So never underestimate the power of your testimony in the world. If you're silent or not, just your presence sometimes for people. And the presence of Crystal in my high school really affected a lot of people. Yes, she got made fun of, but there was a presence about that girl. And for those of you out there that are virgins, you know, I have the most deepest respect for you, and I think that is just amazing. And don't ever be ashamed of it, but be proud of it, because I know plenty of people who would love to trade places with you, and I was one of them. Now, I'd like to address the teens on how you deal with this pressure, and why do you think that being a virgin is an embarrassing thing these days?
Well, at school, it's kind of funny. You said earlier, Jason, that like most of the kids are virgins, and like the majority are. But there are the few, well, not the few, but then there's the other half that isn't. And I think that people can talk about having sex rather than not talking about having sex. Like, you can hear on like a Monday after the weekend, you can hear so-and-so did this, but you don't hear that these two people didn't do this. Like, you don't hear about people not doing things. Like, you don't hear about people abstaining from staying from being physical in a relationship, and it's just something that like people don't talk about. And I think that because of it, people are embarrassed to say like, yeah, I'm a virgin. I didn't do anything this weekend. Like, I didn't do anything. And so that's why I think that people talk about losing their virginity more than holding on to it.
That makes sense.
I think that people think that you're immature if you're a virgin, that you're inexperienced, and, you know, I don't want to marry somebody that I don't know if they are good at having sex. You know, you wouldn't buy a car without taking the test drive first. And in college, I know people are just like, you know, get with the
youth program type thing. Yeah,
you need to step up and be 20.
How do you deal with that? You know, when they give you these lines, well, we wouldn't buy a car if you didn't drive it around, you know. Well, what do you say? Look, I'm not a car.
Not a piece of machinery, thank you. Do you think, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Do you think saving your virginity for marriage is unrealistic?
No. I think it's very hard, though.
It's very difficult.
I think some people can do it, such as my favorite, Mama Mary here. She made it, so that gives me a lot of hope that I can do that as well.
You know what, Karen? You're for losers. And see, I don't think it's that hard. I mean, I think that you really, if you surround yourself with the right people and you have a strong foundation at the beginning, you know, you can do it. It can be done. It's not like this big impossible feat that no one's ever done before. Like, it can be done.
But it is hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
But
it can be done.
Challenge. People don't want that challenge. They look at people that are virgins and they're like, that person's like just too hardcore. They're too out there. They're too rebellious. Like, people like get scared. They're like, oh my gosh, that person's
how does she do it? Yeah, it's true. It's
you're
so
going against
true.
the media. You're going against everything. Like, what do you think you're doing? What are you, God? You're like, no, but I got the help of God.
Or they say that you're prude and you're too scared to have sex and be physical with people. when really it takes a lot more
Yeah.
not to do all that.
You're not doing it because you're afraid or you can't find a date.
Right.
You're doing it for the sake of love.
Yeah.
The love of God, love of yourself, your future spouse.
Yeah.
So.
But what do you guys think of girls that are being pure, that want to save themselves? What do you think of them?
To me, that's honoring, because especially I would take if the Lord has a girl out there for me, as a future wife, I'm gonna love her regardless of whether she's a virgin or not. But the main thing is just if you need support being a virgin, if you're a virgin, that is attractive to me. It really is. There's something about it. It's okay, wow, you respect yourself enough, and the way you carry yourself as a woman or a woman of God, or even if some girls that I know that aren't Christian, just the way they carry themselves speaks volumes to guys that you don't even understand. You can't even know how much that speaks, because we need help. I mean, it is not easy at all. Like we were saying earlier, it is not easy, to be a guy and walk around. I mean, if you're pure, modesty comes with that too, but just the way that if you cherish your virginity, that wow, that's really attractive to me as a guy.
Yeah, it's good to hear, Mike, because I think so many teens, young people thrive off of praise, because oftentimes they get it so rarely at their own houses. And at school, it's just this constant parade of sarcasm and criticism. So I think it's so important that at school we start to build each other up, because we never compliment girls for being modest, and they rarely compliment us for being innocent. I think we need to start to change that culture.
And I definitely find beauty in purity and in girls that are still virgins. But on the other end of that, I find girls who have lost their virginity and are trying to come back and are remorseful and trying to change their lives. I find that just as beautiful in a girl.
I completely agree with you. I mean, imagine if she hadn't turned around and started over. Our whole family, wouldn't exist if it weren't for that decision that she had made.
Definitely.
So we want to give a couple points on how we can live this out.
I would say girls, go to the mall and buy a white candle as a sign of the purity that you held or are holding until your wedding day, and give it to him as a sign of the purity that you've held just for him, and give it to him on his wedding night, as I did for Jason.
And also, speaking of the wedding night, when I was, and I'd say this for guys, when I was a teenager, I read the verse in the Bible in the book of Tobit, where it talked about Tobiah getting married to his wife. And guys back then would get married when they're 18 years old. And on their wedding night, they pray together before they become one flesh. And they pray, and Tobiah leads the prayer, and he says, Lord, he goes, I've taken this wife of mine not because of lust, but because of a noble purpose. So call down your mercies upon her and I, and let us live together to a happy old age. And I read that as a teenage guy, and I said, whoa, here's a teenage guy staring God in the face and saying, I take her not because of lust, but because of a noble purpose. And I read that and go, I want to pray that prayer on my wedding night. I want to live in such a way that my girlfriend or my fiance and then my wife and I will be able to pray that on our wedding night. And sure enough, over the turquoise waters of Bora Bora in Tahiti, we knelt and we prayed that prayer. God, we haven't chosen each other because of lust, because of something noble. And so to live in such a way that you can pray this prayer, and you got to see the big picture. It's not just about waiting for a sacrament or waiting because of an ideal. It's about waiting for a spouse. It's about waiting for a purpose. Even if you're called to the religious life, you're still waiting for a spouse. You're still offering up your sexuality to God, or as a priest to offer up that sacrifice for the sake of the church. Now, a resource we want to promote to you today is the book that we had been reading out when it came to all the service.